Okay, I can see some of our people are in here. Let me shoot out a few invites to those that aren't. How's it going, Andy?
Hello, my friend. It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing very good. How's your day been?
Oh, busy but excellent. Just dropped a video about 2 hours ago, and that's killing it. And, I told people in the video where babies come from. So that happened today.
Was that in relation to cryptocurrency?
What else would it be in relation to? Of course.
It's fascinating. It's all one big life cycle.
That's right. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I was liking your post. You guys post from Sleep Money Club. Those are pretty good stuff today.
Oh, yeah. That's all Colin doing that account, and he's been crushing it with that thing.
Good stuff. What's going on, Colin?
Not a whole lot, man. Super busy, but good busy. So can't complain about anything.
100%, man. That's always good to hear. And Post, you doing good?
Yes, sir. Excellent. How are you?
Excellent. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Matthias, you doing good?
Yes. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm going to go ahead and put out a tweet just letting people know that we are live. And then I am going to post up that giveaway up top so we can see. Let's go. All right. 1 second. All right. Let me put that out. Join up now for this pitching, and I'll just throw the little hand emoji on there. Okay, I think NFTs Anonymous is probably going to join us. I'm not 100% sure. There we go. Right as I was talking about him. Okay, what's going on, Anon?
Hey, what's up, man? It's hard to find the spaces right away. I don't know if it's just because there's so many happening or because they just make it impossible for the links for you to find them.
Yeah, I've noticed it takes sometimes a couple of minutes to warm up. It's like right when I started, it's kind of blank sometimes. And then like all of a sudden just people kind of load up and pile in. So who knows? Then there's plenty of glitches on their end.
I feel you. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely ready to pitch an NFT opportunity tonight. So thanks for having me.
Perfect. Okay, so we have all of our speakers now here, as well as our co-hosts. So welcome on in, everybody. Tonight's a little bit of an interesting space. Obviously, throughout the week, I do a lot of different types of spaces. Some within the NFT space, some within the stock space, some within the crypto space. And I kind of wanted to just have one where we could get a little bit of a wrap up and just kind of mix the cultures and the people from different areas. So for tonight, we have four main speakers as well as two co-hosts who are welcome to speak. The four speakers asked to come. So Decade Investor, which is Colin, he's going to be pitching a stock. Your friend Andy over here is going to pitch a crypto. And then both NFTs Anonymous and Push and Post are going to each pitch NFT projects. And then Evan, Stock Market News, if you want to chime in with any stocks because you're a long-term investor, you're more than welcome to throw something out there. And I'll kind of ask questions and improv along the way. And Matthias, same to you. If there's anything that you want to put out there, you're welcome to in those asset classes.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, cool. So with that being said, I think we're going to kick it off. We're probably going to kick it off, I think, with Colin and have that go first. And because we have four main speakers, you guys definitely can take the time tonight if you want to run like 7-8 minutes or something like that with your pitch for whatever your asset is. And then we'll come in with a couple of questions and then we'll go from there. If any of my speakers are in like time limits where maybe you have something coming up at 7:30 or you have to go earlier or something like that, just shoot me a DM and I'll kind of put you afterwards. But nobody had really let me know anything ahead of time. So we'll start off with Decade Investor. And then right before he does go, I've pinned up top. We kind of started this last week. We're doing a giveaway for the Asset Dash Wall Street Bull that we purchased together. Basically, I partnered with Asset Dash to give it away. That is pinned up top, and everybody can enter. It's basically just by hopping on the app and throw in that a retweet. Fantastic app, really helpful if you're into all these asset classes. And we're going to go deeper into what you can do with the app kind of towards the middle of the space. But first, if everybody could retweet the space out in some way or share their timeline, that would be awesome. And second, the floor is yours, Decade Investor, all you.
What's going on, everyone? So yeah, my name is Colin, but my social media stuff is Decade Investor. But yeah, Gav had me come on here and want to talk about a stock. I know it's not the fun stuff like crypto and NFTs. I recently got into the NFT space. If you follow me on Twitter, but I will be talking about one stock, and I also want to talk about kind of one industry as well. So I want to do this, if that's okay with you, just like one stock, but one industry and kind of separate. And the industry I'm really excited about over the next decade, to be honest with you, is the electric vehicle, just all things electric, that space. And the reason for that is if we look at a lot of estimates that are going on and predictions about the overall EV space, it's expected that just under 50%, this is by 2030, that just under 50% of all new cars purchased around the world will be electric vehicles. We're currently at around just under 10%. And so that's massive, massive growth potential for that space. And the reason I want to focus on a different stock here in a second, but I just wanted to throw that out there is that the EV space is something I'm super, super bullish on. And now when it comes down to company, you have like Tesla, who is the forefront of the EV space, but you have companies like legacy automakers like Ford, Volkswagen, kind of creating their own electric vehicles. You have some new companies like Lucid or Rivian jumping into the space. And so I don't know. And if someone has questions, and we can talk about that after this, if you want to focus more on this, but I don't know what EV automaker per se will be the one. I don't know what EV, not automaker, but maybe a charging station company or a EV parts maker. I'm not sure. I'm really bullish on the industry overall, so I just get into an ETF that covers that space. But that's just kind of one industry I'm really excited on. And if, like I said, I want to focus more on the stock, the asset itself that I'm going to talk about here in a second. But that is just something I want to throw out there. If someone has questions after, by all means, we can talk about that. But the stock I want to focus on is, I'm more of a I am a long-term investor. I'm not someone that really messes around with options. I don't really do a lot of growth stocks, small mid-cap stocks. I do a lot of large cap, just buy and hold type investments. And again, not as flashy as the NFTs or the crypto space, but one company that I'm really excited about, and it's I see a lot of potential with it. That's why we invest, because we believe it's going to go up in price over the long term, is Starbucks. And that's kind of what I want to focus on in this little session here that I have to speak, is really three main points with Starbucks and why I like this company. Now, I'm not someone that necessarily drinks coffee a lot, but if y'all buy Starbucks, keep buying it, because y'all pay me out in dividends, so thank you. But I think there's a really, really great opportunity right now to get into this company. Currently, year to date, Starbucks is down 19.74% in 2022. So pretty much 20% down, a 20% sale on this stock that I love. I've been buying for years. We'll continue to buy. But there's really three big things that I'm really excited about for the future, right? Because when we look at an investment, especially a company like Starbucks or really any like S&P 500, any large company, what are they going to do in the future to continue to grow and expand as a company overall? And like I said, there's three things I want to focus on with Starbucks. Number one is that they're really focusing on the digitalization of coffee, but more importantly, like Starbucks itself. They really want to focus in on that because, as we all know, our phones are connected to us all the time. Our computers are connected. My phone, I can't even keep my phone charged all day. And I'm sure that Wolf has the same. I see his screen time on Twitter, and mine's pretty much.
I'm always
up there
plugged in, man.
Yeah,
I don't go 10 feet from a charger.
Man, my phone battery, if you go to like battery health, mine's like, it's horrible. But so we're connected to that, and everything's digitalized, whether that be, for a lot of different reasons. And Starbucks currently has 17.9 million active members solely in China, which, this is on their online platform, their app. 17.9 million active rewards members. That might not sound like a lot because I know China has, around 1 billion in the population, but that's up 33% since 2020. This is right. We're kind of at the beginning of 2022. So I'm using, when I say last year, I might be talking about 2020. So I'll make sure I make that clear. Up 33% since 2020 in China alone. And in the US, they have 24.8 million active rewards members. That's up 30% from 2020 for the US. So up 33% in China, up 30%, in the US in their digital, their digitalization, their digital footprint, for lack of better terms. And on top of that, over 50% of the sales in the US came from those customers. So over half of every sale that came from the US was from those users that are using their app, their digital footprint, however you want to call it. And that user base is up 30% from the prior year. So they can continue to grow that. And I think they will, as more and more people, as technology gets stronger and better, as more and more people use the app, the digital footprint of Starbucks, meaning it's going to go up and up, more users. And studies show statistically that those users are more likely to continue to buy, be repeat customers. Over 50% of those sales came from those customers in that digitalized space. They're more likely to increase their customer base, right? And those rewards members are more likely to, use that digital app, which is going to give a lot of data for Starbucks and a lot of great opportunity. So that's one space I'm really excited about with Starbucks, is just their digital footprint. A lot of companies are doing this. It's not just Starbucks, but as an app like Starbucks, like a company like Starbucks, that really relies on lower margins. And I know, compared to other coffee shops, it's higher in price. But I'm saying in the generalization, in terms of like paying for labor and all this stuff, they can possibly reduce labor if more people are using the app, using mobile, right? There's a lot of benefits of the growth of their digital footprint. But another thing I'm really excited about with Starbucks is their international growth. Just like I mentioned, their active rewards members in China were up 33% from 2020. In 2022, their CFO mentioned that they want to grow their store number by 2,000 stores in 2022. Now, I know that's a really, really ambitious number, but they want to grow by 2,000 stores in 2022. That would be a 6% store growth over 2021's levels. Now, whether that, this is why I'm excited about this part, because, a lot of companies can just open up stores or whatever. It's estimated that 75% of those stores will be located internationally. Now, what that means is because they're being expanded internationally, and 75% of them, so over 3/4 of them, will be international stores. Those international stores generate higher profits than domestic ones, because operating expenses are lower in international stores for Starbucks than they are for North American or domestic stores. 50% versus 44% is operating expenses. So majority of those new stores that they plan to open, 75% of them roughly, are going to have higher profit margins, or just higher profits in general than domestic stores. And so we're seeing growth in areas that is going to be in places that hopefully, Starbucks isn't there. It's newer places. People are excited to use Starbucks, and they're going to be generating higher profits because of that. And so the international store growth for Starbucks is something I'm really, really like. But the final thing here, and I know I'm about at 8.5 minutes. I got my timer up here. But the final thing I want to talk about with Starbucks is just, and this is really for coffee overall, is it's estimated that, and this is from Starbucks themselves, so take it with a grain of salt, right? They're the ones making this estimation that the total addressable coffee market will reach $400 billion in the next 3 years. That is a compounded annual growth rate of the overall market of 8.5%. So what that is saying is the current market share that Starbucks has in this space would be roughly, in 2021, they generated sales of $29 billion. If they keep their market share in that market, the coffee market grows to that level at 8.5% compounded annual growth rate, their their sales numbers could be around $40 billion. And so just shows the massive growth potential for the overall coffee market and Starbucks itself. Just like with Tesla, I'm going to make this full circle here. Just like with Tesla and the EV space, how, yes, Tesla is losing its market share. The overall market for EV is growing. And so this is kind of a similar thing where the overall market is expected to grow for coffee, and Starbucks is a massive player. And because of that, if they keep their market share, even if they lose it slightly, their sales in general will be increased by billions of dollars, if not $11 billion, if they keep the same. So those three things, you have the digital footprint that Starbucks has and continues to grow, and is shown has grown up 33% in China, up 30% in the US year over year. The international store growth, and it's more specifically 75% of those 2,000 stores, roughly 1,500 stores opened international, which is going to equal higher profits, lower operating expenses, and finally, just the overall market for coffee. I know it's crazy to think about, but the market is expected, according to Starbucks, again, take it with a grain of salt, is expected to grow to $400 billion in the next 3 years. So those three things really get me excited about this one company right here, because Starbucks, even though it's a really, really big company already, I think there's other reasons I didn't want, I only had a few minutes here to talk about it, but I think there's a really, really great opportunity, and it being down basically 20% year to date, I see as a great buying opportunity into Starbucks, and that is why I continue to buy Starbucks pretty much every single week currently, because of everything I mentioned, plus a few other ideas as well. But that is my asset pitch for that stock, Starbucks.
That was really interesting. I want to ask one question. But yeah, no, fantastic pitch, tons of detail. So thank you for that. I guess one question, I didn't know if you touched on this in particular. Are you concerned with the lack of people going back to offices, the push towards remote work, being that Starbucks has so many of its stores in office buildings and in heavily concentrated, city centers? Is that a concern of yours?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't necessarily have like the data to back up this claim. So this is just a personal opinion of mine. But as I see around, just being on the internet and seeing people talk and driving around, driving down the street. I live in kind of a suburb area, so I don't live in a city center, so I can't speak about, like a big city like a New York or Chicago or something. But driving around in the suburb in the Midwest, even though a lot of people are working from home and there is kind of a slow, gradual kind of mix of people maybe going back in the office, some people never going back in the office, I still rarely drive past the Starbucks. And again, I know this doesn't necessarily mean the company or the business is thriving, but just looking at it visually, I don't ever see a Starbucks. Doesn't matter what time of the day it is. I used to live in Houston, Texas, and it would be like 3 a.m. and there'd be people in line at Starbucks. And so, again, there's no data to prove that, but just from my own visual of driving by and seeing it, I haven't seen a slowdown of people using Starbucks, as well as, like I mentioned, the digital footprint that Starbucks has, and it continues to grow. People are, based on their data, are using their mobile app to buy. So even if, hey, I work from home, I'm still going to drive and get my, I don't go to Starbucks, so like with a venti something or another, right? They still are going to go get it from there because, yeah, it's obviously cheaper to make it at home. It's obviously probably cheaper to get it at other places, but they love Starbucks. They get incentivized to use Starbucks because they're on the rewards member. They maybe get like $1 off, or go 5 times, you get the 6th one free type thing. So I haven't necessarily, again, I don't have any data to back this up because I don't know how you would necessarily prove it like that. But my own personal experience is I don't see any Starbucks. Even, again, I'm living in the suburbs, so can't speak for city centers or very heavily populated downtown areas. I don't see much of a decline in just the visualization of people using the company.
Sweet. Thanks for that answer. Yeah, no, that was great. I guess we want to go around the horn, or does anybody have any other
Yeah.
questions on this Starbucks?
Yeah, so Starbucks is a really interesting one for me. It's actually the first stock that I did a full DCF on. and like really went in depth a few years back. And my concern during COVID was actually with their margins. So right now, that was like the biggest concern for me was growing their margins. So just trying to pull up the data that I had, and perhaps this has kind of changed a little bit from when I was doing it. Uh, okay, let's see. All right, I'm not seeing like the exact data sets, but basically the biggest problem that I had with Starbucks was their margins growing. And then once COVID hit, that made me even more concerned that they could grow their margins. But essentially, what they did was they basically just converted a lot of their shops to the grab and go, which I think allowed them to actually just up the amount of business that they were doing because people weren't having to wait around and pick up the cups. So that's when they really started introducing that, where they would just write people's names and put them out. So I thought that was a pretty good adaptation, and they just continued to like open stores. They just don't stop opening stores. It's super expansive as they continue to go, and their core expenses, SG&A, COGS, store operating expenses probably spiked in the last year or two as they had to update COVID-19 protocols. But I assume they're going to flatten out and move forward. Colin, last question, and then we'll keep it moving and we'll go to NFTs Anonymous. And that is there anything at Starbucks do you think that they could introduce to their business model that would continue to improve it? Is there anything they could maybe throw onto the menus or any other areas as an investor that just you think you could better the product?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not a big user of Starbucks, so in terms of what they do and their products, I'm not super knowledgeable on their menu or what they do or don't offer. But what I would say as an investor, one thing I would love to see, and I was thinking about this before you mentioned it, so I'm glad you talked about it. Is really, and they're slowly doing this, but I think really finding ways to double down even more on the digital experience and the grab and go aspect of it, because I'm looking at a chart now. Their margins did get cut in 2020 pretty heavily, and I would like to see them be able to double down on like I said, the digital experience where people can come in and instead of having to have a bunch of people in the shop working because for various reasons they can cut down on expenses and really just tell people, hey, we're going to be a grab and go, right? That's kind of what we're going to focus on more than to come and sit down and hang out all day. Kind of place that really help their margins and continue to grow the business that way. And so that would be kind of my pitch to if I was speaking to the board.
Okay, awesome, Colin. Great having you on. We'll definitely have you on some more of these as we're looking to make this a bit of a series.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Okay, let's keep it rolling. Also, shout out. I see Anthony Ohayon in the audience. Looking forward to our space later this week. If you want to come up here like later on in this space and pitch a stock or an NFT or a crypto, you're more than welcome to. Before we go over to NFTs Anonymous, I think it's just a good second right here. So actually, this is like perfect for a person like you, Colin. So I see your timeline, and I know you're the decade investor, and I found you as a big stocks guy. But now I know that you have the crypto because you got the Bitcoin, you got the laser eyes on, and in addition to that, I know that you're holding NFTs, right? Because you posted about it today how you're getting, you're getting those benefits from holding your NFTs each week. And you kind of have a little bit of everything. You have NFTs on Sol and ETH and everything, right? So you're kind of getting real diversified here, right?
Yeah. I went. Yeah. You're right. I was looking at this stuff actually. What you tagged up there, and I'm definitely interested. So my ears are open.
Perfect. So this is literally for the type of person like you. So the reason that I'm doing this space with Asset Dash, it's no coincidence. What I'll basically put out there is anyone that hasn't already checked out Asset Dash, which is up here co-hosting with me, if you're coming to the space saying, I like stocks and crypto and NFTs, or maybe you like two out of the three and you want to get to learn the other, this is just the ideal app for you. It's basically for the crossover investor, which is, I guess, what we're calling it versus diversified. But essentially, I have NFTs here and there, OpenSea, Solana. I've got stocks in Fidelity and E-Trade and Robinhood. I've got crypto on Coinbase and FTX, and I've got like all this other stuff. And it's like, how can I possibly keep track of it? And that's what Asset Dash does for me. You can connect in an unlimited amount of accounts on literally any of these chains. They have tons of different brokerages you can connect from. You can connect from Solana, ETH. They're introducing more blockchains. I have all my NFTs in there, and one of my favorite things with like the NFTs is they actually track the floor each day. So it gives me an updated floor price on my NFT portfolio each day if like perhaps I wanted to liquidate it or something on those lines. They're also pulling in like really crazy different areas of crypto, plus like my crypto staking and just a lot of different opportunity within the one place. So shout out Acid Dash because one, we're doing a giveaway tonight, which is pinned up top, and then also two, if you want to be part of that giveaway, you have to download the app. But shout out the app for being free. So it all kind of makes life pretty easy. So love what Acid Dash is doing. And if you haven't already checked it out, you're kind of one of the people that's up here on the panel or another. And even if you like 2 out of 3 of those things, it makes it super easy because I haven't seen a comparable item or product. Matthias, is there anything you want to add to that before we keep it rolling?
No, I thought that was great. Just to reiterate a few points, I think the big value prop that people are seeing so far, we were just voted #1 product on Product Hunt, and I think a big reason why is the simplicity of being able to see your stocks, your cryptos, and all your on-chain assets in the same place. So that includes, you have your custodial accounts like Coinbase and FTX, but we also support on-chain. So you can just paste your Ethereum address or paste your Solana address and we'll pull all those assets. But I think in particular with NFTs, what people really like is we take that NFT, we assign a value to it based off marketplace data, and then you can now see how that NFT is performing, just like you would a stock. So you could see the 24-hour performance, you could see your NFT portfolio, you could see what your NFT allocation is compared to your Apple or your Bitcoin position, so on and so forth. And then in a few weeks, we're going to release a new update to our NFT pricing that we're pretty excited about. Can't share a ton on it now, but it's something that we've been getting a ton of requests from users from to basically account for more rare NFTs that aren't close to the floor, for example. So we're super excited with all of that. We love getting all of this feedback from users. So if you have any ideas on how to improve the app or different integrations or anything in your mind that you'd like to see, we're very responsive. So just shoot over a DM and we would love to get that feature up for you. But besides that, that was everything.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go into an NFT pitch now, and we're going to do this from NFTs Anonymous. So he'll be basically pitching like a specific opportunity within the space. Really, really did my best, especially since this is the first of these spaces, to make sure we only have like incredibly reputable people on this panel. There is no like shilling, I would say, going on this panel. Like everything that's being put out there is projects which we've really looked into and put time and effort into. And the guys that are up here, like you just heard, Deck Investor, even in 10 minutes, make an incredible pitch there for Starbucks. And I'm sure you'll hear from Andy, a great one on crypto, and from Post as well on NFT. So definitely stick around. But NFTs Anonymous, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. All right. So the project that I have been most focused on recently, and this is my first project of its kind that I have, been this significantly involved in, really trying to pay attention to all of the announcements and updates, because it really has developed rather quickly into a sophisticated ecosystem, is Cool Monks. And that's cool, like spelled the normal way, and then Monks, Monkes. On OpenSea, it's Cool Monks Genesis. And what started out as what many viewed as a Cool Cats derivative project with monkeys is anything but. It's really impressive what they have, the culture that they've been able to kind of create and reinforce with their development. And that's the way I think that you are able to really harness like a sustainable community. Is it's not about the hype, it's not about the floor, it's about what is really going into the project as far as the deliverables, the expectations that are set, under promise, over deliver every time, and the consistency of the communication, and really emphasizing how the community is what's making it possible, and that they are the driving force for the project, and not artificial or paid advertising. So to break it down a little further, I'm going to go into the roadmap and just kind of talk about the collection and why I think it's a good opportunity. Currently, the floor is sitting, I believe, right around 0.5. At its height, it had approached to ETH Currently, it's actually at 0.6. All right, and just pulling up the white paper here so I can give a pretty, overarching breakdown of just what's being promised or what's already been developed. Okay, great. Here we go. So, basically, it says Cool Monks is a uniquely fun collection delivering an innovative PVE. So, participate, play VE. That's not play to earn. I think they must have meant a two there. So, play to earn and PvP, which is player versus player experience. Says to create a fun and nostalgic experience for our community with immersive new ways for players to interact with their NFTs and fellow community members. They had talked about early on in their preliminary roadmap the idea of breeding using the in-game currency. The way that you receive the in-game currency is through staking. For those that aren't familiar, staking basically means that you take your NFTs out of the supply that's being offered on the secondary market, and you, by doing so, are presented with a certain number, certain distribution of tokens, the in-game currency. It's called CMB. That can then, depending on what the platform, the game, whatever it is that ecosystem that you're participating in, will have some sort of inherent utility or value as far as furthering yourself in the platform, or in this case, the Cool Monks world. So what started out as, yeah, you're going to be able to breed and you might be able to train, it's gone so in depth over the past like 2 weeks here. It's ridiculous. And like I said, first community like this that I've ever been this avid about. I liked just their initial art and their roadmap. I thought the traits were clean. I thought the roadmap, had some creative ideas to it. It was like hidden quests and enchanted forest reveal. What's that? Secret cave exploration. What's that? Something about land, So there was just a lot of variables and a lot of different directions that I could see it kind of taking shape. And that was something that was attractive to me. It felt different. It felt innovative. It felt like they weren't just trying to copy everything else that was out there already. Sure enough, the more that I dive into this community, the more I am bullish and like the more excited I become, because the token and this in-game currency that they're going to have, it has so many different use cases, whether it's the race to breed monkeys, which then you can acquire trainers, which will train the monkeys to have a similar staking distribution as one of the Genesis monkeys. So now we're talking about things that are similar to creeps, most notably, or cyber kongs was another big one. I mean, huge, right? As far as the quote unquote passive income opportunities through staking and then the introduction of a liquidity pool. So that's all set up here as well. But then it also goes beyond that to say that, well, not only are you going to be able to stake to earn in-game currency, but you're also going to earn resources through staking. And these resources are tradable and then also can be applied towards, building your treehouse, or to have advantages with the player versus player, experience. So, like I said, it's very well developed. And what I'm most impressed by is that you can tell by the consistency of the communication and the structure of the announcements and how the information's being presented. This was all pre-coordinated. I mean, that's my thoughts. Unless they're doing this like all just week to week, which I highly doubt. I would venture to guess that much of this was already done before they even minted. And I think that's how more projects need to really be kind of looking at the NFT space. Is if you want to break through all the saturation, because it's only going to get even more noisy and it's going to be even more challenging to differentiate yourself, I think the first thing that you can do is come correct and come prepared, and don't just try to wing it and don't just like hope that you sell out. It should be an absolute guarantee, no doubt in your mind, that you're going to sell out if you're even going to put forth the energy to even go halfway, right? Like, that's my thoughts, is that if you're going to not only subject the community to your experience, to your platform, to this investment opportunity, but you're going to subject yourself to it, and to stake your reputation on that, why would you not come prepared? And so I believe that Cool Monks has done exactly that, and that they're really going to differentiate themselves in the coming weeks when people start to compare them against a lot of similar staking opportunities, projects that have this play to earn component to them. I think that this one's going to continue to flourish and attract a lot of attention as things really get set into motion. Just to finish up, there was one other thing I was going to say. Current staking percentage. So another thing that, I'm sorry, I remember what I was going to say. So I'll talk about the staking percentage for a second. It's going up every day. It's hovering just under 90% right now on the monkeys themselves. And then it's a little over 85% with the boost passes, which also act as a distribution of resources that you attach to your monkeys through staking the boost passes as well. Last thing I wanted to mention, we would be naive to think that when it comes to the NFT community, that there wasn't some sort of coordination, that there wasn't some sort of system for becoming successful or breaking through those invisible barriers as far as all the projects that are being presented on a daily basis. And so it helps to know the right people, right? It helps to have a network. Well, I can disclose that with Cool Monks, they partnered with Platoon DAO. Platoon DAO has a little over 9,000 people in it. Print My Mint has a great reputation in the space, and he put his community on both to Creeps and Cool Monks. So you could argue that those communities were triggers for why these projects had a solid community foundation and were able to sustain through the growing pains that most all projects are going to have, natural market fluctuations. But if you have a more coordinated foundation to your community and a community of loyalists, if you will, that have a reputation for holding, you can set yourself up for better results. And that was something that was also present here, where I think we're talking months prior to Mint is when these communities started to interact and, connect with each other and kind of set the ball into motion as far as what the approach would be for marketing and for ultimately minting out to start the community. So I think that there's some merit there, and it's worth mentioning that projects that are standing out are usually standing out for a reason that goes beyond the project itself. And Cool Monks falls under that category as well.
I love it. The full picture there. I like how you went into kind of all those areas that we talked about when you want to do due diligence. Really went down into the team, the white paper, the product, utility, how it's different from others. Trading right now at 0.6 as the floor price, which is interesting too, right? It's expensive, but not nothing, not like a Bored Ape kind of is. I see a ton of activity. They've had spikes of the floor all the way up to almost 1.4. It looks like too. So maybe it's even kind of on a little bit of a consolidation period here. For anyone that's in the audience looking for this project, it's their Twitter is cool, and then it's MONKES. So it's Cool Monks, kind of like monkeys. I'm pretty sure that's the one that you're referring to, right? NFTs Anonymous?
Yep, that's the one. And if you join their Discord, all of their white paper is published in these really easy to read and quite colorful, infographics that will really describe their ecosystem and their quote unquote roadmap in more detail. There's one other thing that I was just going to mention about it.
They did such a smart idea with their white paper, didn't they?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that you can tell whether or not this is an argument, this is subjective, whether or not a project is quote unquote doxed, and that there's different levels to doxing, right? Do they just have a social media following, and others will vet for them, or would be willing to refer them as someone that's able to lead a community? Do they have a previous track record of projects that they dev'd or that they were on the team for? Or are they flat out doxxed where we know who they are in real life, such as myself? I'm Tyler Stockfield. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Come find me, right? Like, not everyone's comfortable with that. However, I don't think just because someone isn't comfortable with that level of exposure, that level of risk, we don't know what their personal situation is. So I don't think that that's an immediate reason to dismiss a project as being valid or being legitimate. I think Cool Monks is a great example of that. Chili Appendix is one of the founders. Zoo is the artist. I don't know these people's real names. I don't care at the moment because they've shown with their actions that they're legitimate, that they're consistent, and that they're doing the right things, and that they're going above and beyond even. I started a Twitter space because I was excited about Cool Monks, wanted to get, not even like a pump and dump type of space, but just like, let's get excited. Let's celebrate this. Like, let's be the biggest Twitter space on Twitter right now. Like, that was, the intention. Out of nowhere, half the team showed up. We didn't invite them. They just came in and they just hung out for hours and talked about it. And it was very organic. But on top of that, they do have organized town halls that they do. So I think there's a really good balance of professionalism, but also they understand, they're empathetic. Like they know how to encourage the right type of culture within their community and actually be a part of it and not just overseeing it or, directing it. So again, I think there's a lot to like about many aspects of this project. And that's why I was excited to have the chance to share it with everyone.
Awesome. I love it. I feel like you were super thorough. I don't have a ton of follow-up questions on this, Matthias. Is there anything that you have?
No, I thought the pitch was great. I'm actually on the website now, starting to look at it. So no, that was awesome.
Do you like the artwork, Tyler?
I actually do. I really do, to be honest. I think that there is a good mix of NFT stereotypical, cliche, relative, nostalgic traits, such as, there's the pizza in the mouth, and there's the you have the rainbow mouth as another one that was always popular. You have crowns. You have you have an homage to the Cool Cats community. There's a lot of different things that I think are just super relevant, but there's also some stuff, I'm going to pull it up right now so I can speak about it a little bit better, some that really stick out that I think are just super creative. For example, I know that one of my big favorites isn't a creative one. It's the spacesuit. I have two of those. One is creative though because it has a mask on and it's just a smiley face with like a crying emoji. That's what the mask is, the happy smiling, happy crying face emoji, whatever. And that with the spacesuit, and you can't see the monk's face at all. Like, I think that is hilarious, and it's so on brand for my own platform, being quote unquote anonymous. And then like the whole spacesuit's like, wag me, we're going to the moon. Like, I just thought that was funny. But they have some really clever traits in here, and they have different rarity levels, which establish the output of the CMB token when you do the staking. Ironically, I just pulled up a fake collection, so good thing I wasn't looking to purchase. Here, let me go to the banana rarity, and I can tell you a couple of the ones. And then they also had 10 one-of-ones that there's already been sales over 10 years.
How did you tell it was fake collection versus real?
Because the number of items was not right, and there were like no sales on it. I just was clicking and wasn't paying attention. But
Yeah,
always a good learning experience.
One thing I noticed that OpenSea has to fix is that you can link anyone's Twitter to your OpenSea project. There's no verification process. I can link like Elon Musk's Twitter to my project.
No way.
Yeah.
That's not good. All right, so there was a gumball head, which is like, old school gumball machines. That's just like what the head is. I thought that was pretty funny. There's a shout out to Alien Friends, like I said, as well as Cool Cats. With a couple different traits. And then another one that stood out was the video game head. So that's probably my top one that I have in my collection is a spacesuit with the video game head. It's like the old Game Boy, like that's what it looks like. So yeah, I was really impressed with the art. I told the artist, on the Twitter space that, and I tell her that in the Discord frequently, that like, you really did something special here. When you can create rarity where even the ones that quote unquote are considered floor based off the scarcity of them still look rare or still look appealing, that's when you've done something right. And that's what I think Cool Cats did really well, which is why this mirrors that, but it also is providing a lot of unique utility.
Really good stuff. Love it, man. Appreciate you coming on and sharing today. Anything else there, Matthias, or should we keep it rolling?
No, I just wanted to reiterate that last point. I completely agree. I think when the floor NFTs still look attractive, that's when a project is in great shape. And just scrolling through the OpenSea here, I definitely feel like that's the case for this one.
Perfect. Awesome stuff. Love the pitch. So for anyone that's been joining, we've so far had a stock pitch from Decade Investor, an NFT pitch from NFTs Anonymous, and we are now going to have a crypto pitch from Andy. So Andy, floor is yours.
Hey, thanks. Yeah. So my name is Andy, and I'm going to tell you about a crypto pick. Now, I could very well, when people ask me what is, where should I put my money in the crypto space, and where is most of my passion and my conviction and stuff, the crypto boomer in me just wants to pitch you Bitcoin, but I'll try to make this a little more interesting than just doing the default with kind of pitching something that is a massive portion of my portfolio that I'm really excited about and bullish on, and I've been in since 2018. Very excited about, and it's a Web3 play. So I think Web3 is really interesting. I think we're a long way out from fully realized Web3, but I think that is very much a part of our future. And so we should be looking at things that are going to be a part of that. And I'm kind of I'm a crypto miner. I do lots of crypto passive income stuff, and I'm a big fan of pick and shovel plays. So I like the idea that I can invest in something that people are going to need or use in this new future that I believe is going to happen. And so for me, one of those top kind of pick and shovel plays is a project called Flux. Flux is they're kind of positioning themselves to be essentially a decentralized Amazon Web Services. So they want to create cloud infrastructure. But what's really interesting about it is, one, it is all user-run hardware. It's user-run cloud servers, user-run nodes at home on Raspberry Pi devices, on actual full desktop computers. There's different tiers and different offerings of compute power, and these aren't like the nodes of the masternode craze of 2018 to 2019, which were just bare bones minimum servers that just carried a copy of the blockchain, did some validations, and spit out a reward. These are actually computational nodes, which is why I find this project really, really interesting. But essentially, because it is kind of spread out across the globe, it's run at your home, it's run all the places, it's truly decentralized, and it's only getting more so as more nodes come online. And because of that, it's not subject to the same rules and things of a standard company, where if they, you run an app, they don't like it, they can just turn it off. In this case, that would not be possible. So it's a kind of a unique, interesting opportunity in a more, web-friendly, Web3 friendly space kind of going forward, which is why I'm really interested in it. But more so than that, again, they've been around the block for a little while. If you've existed more than a year, in the real world, outside of crypto, not in all the funny magic internet money space, if you're a company that's a year old, you're baby, you're brand new. But in the crypto space, if you last more than a year, it's basically a miracle, because this is such a volatile, rough and tumble space. So the fact that Flux has been around since 2018 is very impressive to me. But more so, it's a proof of work blockchain. So it's a mineable blockchain. And because of that, it was launched as a fair launch. There was no VC funding where people bought up all these coins at super cheap rates so they could dump them on the retail investors as they come in. It was all fair launch, mineable from the get-go, which also makes it sustainable because it has normal proof of work block rewards that are then distributed between the miners and node operators. But also, what's becoming increasingly more important in the space of these kind of quote unquote passive income plays and node projects and stuff is they have a very public team. Names, faces, LinkedIn's, all that out there in the open, communicate constantly, do AMAs, all that cool stuff. But they're also growing like crazy. There's like 50 to 60 employees, of which most of them are developers. And if you look at their GitHub, unlike a lot of other projects, it's just a bunch of green Christmas trees, which I love to see when I'm looking at the back end of a project. It means they're actually working on this stuff. And they've done a bunch of great partnerships, and they're on a bunch of exchanges and stuff. They're still a relatively small cap. They're only $370 million cap. Had a lot of price action this year, but there's still kind of a road ahead of them that could be a very bright road ahead, which is why I've made it such a core part of my portfolio. But anyways, crypto passive income is something I've gotten more and more into, and I just absolutely love the idea that you can support networks. You can be involved in these projects, and you can, at the same time, receive an income or reward for doing so, for helping support. This is there's anything from doing the mining to DeFi and hardware devices and interest accounts, and then of course nodes, which is kind of the big reason why I love Flux. They have these Flux nodes, and so this is, like I said, the backbone of this Web3 decentralized infrastructure that they're building. But these are all user run, and unlike some of this kind of new crop of quote unquote node projects, which I do like quite a few of those, these you actually keep your entire collateral. You keep all your coins. It's like basically staking them, but attaching them to these cloud servers, to these online resources. And in doing so, again, you get part of the block reward. You're rewarded for that. And what's kind of amazing is seeing the growth of this project over the past year, especially, but since its inception, 2018, because it's gone from a couple of cents, 2 to 3 cents per coin, to today's price of a little over $1.50, I think. And so these nodes, the smallest tier, there's multiple tiers, multiple computational tiers. The smallest ones are making $240 a month. Middle ones somewhere in between $500 to $600 a month, and the big boys are making over $2,000 a month. So if you're somebody who's been investing in this, who's been mining it, who's been accumulating these coins over the years, and you're running this hardware, you're being paid pretty well to do so. And then that entire dynamic changes in the future when more and more companies are onboarded, more and more dApps are being run, sites and other things are being hosted on this network. And then there's also the fees for hosting these things that are then shared with node owners and stuff like that. So there's all this really cool ecosystem built into it if you are a node operator. So it puts this like a ton of incentive on individual users to really dig in, be committed to the project, not just buying these things to get rewards each month and then sell them, but actually hang on to stuff and stand up more infrastructure and more hardware. And it's this really cool cycle, which makes me think that a project like this is going to have no real issues with sustainability going forward. And the more adoption that happens is more goodness and more infrastructure that gets run on the other end, which is super cool to me. And this is being kind of pitched as a decentralized Amazon Web Services. I by no means think that this is a Amazon competitor, because good luck taking down that giant. But I think there's going to be a bunch of companies or individuals, as Web3, the idea of that and the actual build out of that takes place, that want a Web3, more decentralized, more uncensorable kind of option to put some or all of their stuff. I can see a lot of companies that currently have very centralized cloud infrastructure wanting to branch out and have something that is a little more Web3 friendly, to be more accessible to that side of the market. So I can see how they put portions of things, portions of what they have online hosted into places like Flux, which is where I see it just needs to get a little slice of some of that market cap, and it can, and there's just tons and tons of money in that space. So anyways, and then kind of on the topic of nodes. So right now, there's 3 tiers of nodes, but one of the reasons I'm really bullish on this is because they're about to cut all their node requirements for how much collateral you put up. And so this is about to become much more accessible to more people, meaning when this starts transitioning in March and April, their node network is going to go from currently like 2,500 to 2,600 total nodes to 4 or 10 times as many. So this computational network is all of a sudden going to explode with its capabilities, meaning you can put more and more stuff hosted on here, which of course is wonderful for something that has so much room to grow in price and market cap. And then the last thing I kind of want to talk about with Flux is something I'm really, really excited about in crypto space in general, and I think Flux might be one of the first to implement it. Like I said, it's a proof of work blockchain, meaning you have mining machines that that solve Sudokus in the cloud to make magic internet money, basically do these math problems. But there's no real use outside of crunching the numbers and making the chain stacking new blocks. But there's this idea of proof of useful work, where while you crunch the numbers and create new blocks, that all that hash power, all that electricity being burned is also used simultaneously for something else. Maybe it's medical research, maybe it's doing cancer research, maybe it's something as simple as video rendering or 3D graphics rendering, some other kind of intensive computational work that GPUs with all their multitude of processing cores on them are capable of doing at scale. And you can make the blockchain continue pumping forward, making money and making new blocks, but you can also do all this other useful work, which then all of a sudden makes it much more inviting to so many more people to do this stuff. And so Flux might be, in my opinion, one of the first people, because they've been talking about so much, to implement this. But that's a general idea that I am super stoked on for the future of crypto in general when it comes to proof of work chains. But yeah, all that to say, Flux is something I'm very excited about in the future. I think has a very, very bright future ahead of it. And I am heavily invested, so I'm also heavily biased to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt in its future.
A lot of stuff going on here, Andy. A lot of things going on. Okay, so first off, for anyone that wants to check out what Andy's talking about, you can go to a couple places. So you can go on Twitter to Run on Flux, RUNONFLUX. Run on Flux, 72,000 followers. That is their official Twitter. You can also go to CoinMarketCap and you can look up Flux, FLUX, and you can go to Reddit where it's r-flux_official. Lot to like about this. Definitely has a clear purpose, which I think is really important. I feel like there's a lot of stuff within it. It's just like, hey, we're kind of doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, but this is clear. This is, use cases like website hosting and blockchain identity services and decentralized apps and cross-chain bridging infrastructure, similar to what you were saying about AWS. Also like that it looks like about 95% of the total Flux supply is owned by the public. So this isn't something that's being manipulated by the creators. They're not holding on to a massive amount of it. It looks like they have a little bit over 5%, or perhaps some of it has even been burnt or something along those lines. I see that there's a halving every 2.5 years, which is pretty interesting, and some other ways that this can be mined. One question that I do have, the price is in a pretty good spot. Oh, other thing right now that I thought was pretty interesting is we are at the highest it's ever been for the amount of wallets that are holding unique addresses that are holding Flux. Today set a new record with 1,113 unique wallets holding Flux. But just a reminder, about 99.78% of that is the top 10 holders. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. This is all per CoinMarketCap, which, take it as you will. I just don't have a better resource at the moment.
And I'll jump in on that last one real quick and say it's deceptive to look at the rich list for this one because, and I don't I had to take several minutes just to get into the other aspect of it, which is their parallel assets, which is all their cross-chain stuff. But one of the biggest addresses on there, or one or two of the top ones, are actually a locked supply of these parallel assets, which are dispersed over time to all the holders. So it's a little bit deceptive to just look at the addresses just on CoinMarketCap. I just want to throw that out there real quick.
Yeah, good point. So what I was getting to there was obviously this has had some great growth, even in the last, I guess it's been since like September, October. This was trading at half a dollar, is now up to, three. Well, I guess it's 2x from there. Um, well, 200%, 3x, whatever you want to call it. It's trading at a little bit of above $1.50. It's been all the way up to $3, so it kind of came back down with all of crypto uh, throughout January. Is this something where if somebody's not going to run a node or do anything with it besides, I mean, maybe is there a way to just like buy it and stake it? Is there stuff that people can do outside of diving fully into the ecosystem that you still think makes this a good investment?
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I love about Flux. I mean, one, you can mine it. Two, you can run nodes and earn it. But then three, you can take Flux and you can put it onto. There's a great exchange called Coin Metro, very reputable exchange, and you can stake your Flux there. And I think it's either 11 or 13% APY with staking, with a minimal like lockup time. But beyond that, if you just hold Flux in your native Zelcore wallet, which is their official Flux wallet, every so many months they do a snapshot of the entire chain, and then they do a asset drop to all the holders of a percentage of your total holding. So they have one coming in May. They're going to take a snapshot on May 5th, and then they're going to do two parallel. This is what I was talking about a second ago. They're parallel assets. They're going to do two asset drops, and both of these in total will be 5.4% of your holding. So you get a total of 10.8% of whatever you're holding return back to you in these drops. And the reason I do this is kind of a soft scaling, so you can stand up more node hardware. But essentially, it's more or less an airdrop of tokens that can be swapped one for one for native Flux. So yeah, there are lots of ways to earn, make it accessible for a lot of people.
Awesome. Matthias, any questions?
Nothing on my side. I thought it was a really great explanation. I guess I do have one. I'm not sure if you touched on this in particular. What would you say is? Would you say there's like a direct competitor to Filecoin?
Yeah, so there's a lot of so there's, I don't know, I'd say two or three, maybe four projects that are trying to do similar things. I think one of the ones that a lot of people draw a lot of similar conclusions or similarities to is what's it called? I'm just blanking on the name of it. Uh, um, anyways, Internet Computer (ICP). Um, but the catch with several of these is that they're super centralized. They don't allow users to run nodes. Internet Computer doesn't allow user run nodes, totally centralized nodes. And so it's basically just they're calling it a crypto version of AWS, but they're just a centralized company driven. And several of these are very like Internet Computer, for example, tons and tons of VC rounds, very very cheap. Then the public rounds are much more expensive, and it's been shown. You can watch those tokens being dropped onto everybody else coming on later. Filecoin I can't speak to as much because I'm not as familiar with it, but I know that most of the other competitors I've looked at, if they do allow for user run nodes, they're not actually serious when it comes to computation. They're much lighter nodes for lighter jobs. They're not going to be as DApp friendly. They're going to be more hosting friendly. And then there are certainly other competitors, like there's SC Prime. That's not a direct competitor, but they're trying to go after like the storage space. So it's just a different section of the same market. One's more computational. One's more just the storage end of things. But yeah, there's certainly multiples in the space. But I think Flux has one of the strongest kind of selling points and positions. And I also just think that once these new tiers of nodes are released and stuff like that, the adoption of nodes is going to explode so much. The network is going to become so big and powerful, and just very interesting and attractive to people who want to run stuff on a network like this.
Do you think Coin Metro is one of the better places to stake Flux?
Yeah, and I also think it's one of the only ones that they actually support all the official Flux stuff. There might be one or two other ones, but it's the one that I always recommend, and it's a very reputable exchange. I have no problem recommending that one.
Do they have do you know what their percentages that they offer?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere between 11 to 13% APY.
Okay. So you can get kind of 11 to 13% APY. You can be subjected to the asset's underlying movement. And then is there anything else in there kind of besides the nodes that people would be doing with it?
Yeah, and the node return, even on the lowest tier, is somewhere between 25 to 30% APY. And then yeah, like I said, the other drops and stuff, just by holding it in your native wallet, you're gonna have access to some of those things like that. And of course, again, it's proof of work. You can just mine this. You can have your gaming computer, turn it on, and earn. You have a decent modern gaming graphics card, you can earn zero point 0.6 to 1 full flux per day. So it's very competitive with even Ethereum mining, but you're also, again, it gets complicated, but you also earn these parallel assets as you mine them. And then, again, with something that has such a small market cap, what is $1.50 today? If the end of the year it's 2 or 10x what it currently is, well, then that one per day you're mining with your one little dinky GPU on your gaming computer is worth a whole bunch more. It's very lucrative. It's more of a speculative mining, which is what I've done largely over the past several years with Flux. Has paid off very well for me. But yeah, there's lots of ways to earn it, which is why I love it.
Really, really good stuff. Andy, thank you so much for coming on at Pitch Night. I know that you're fascinating with all different types of crypto, so I'm sure we'll have you back.
Appreciate it, my friend.
Absolutely. And before we go over to Post, for anyone that listened to Decade Investor first talk about stocks and then Andy as well talk about crypto, and you were like, hey, these guys are great. I completely understand what they're saying. They're explaining it clearly. They clearly understand stocks and crypto and NFTs and more. They actually have a Discord together and a service called ZZZ Money Club, and it's linked in both of their bios, I believe, or there's a link in both of their bios that you can click into to check that out. And obviously I just really like having them on, and I think they do great things. And I've been able to meet Andy in person, and I'll get to see Colin soon. So, big vouch for everything that they're doing and appreciate them being here tonight. Okay. From there, we're going to go over to our last planned speaker for the night, and then we might hit our co-host. And if Anthony wants to come up, he's welcome to as well. And that is going to be Push and P, Mr. Push and Post. Good to have you up here. Excited to hear your NFT pitch.
Thank you, Wolf. What's up, everybody? So I'm here to push ApeCoin. Thanks. Have a nice day. No, I'm just kidding. So my name's Post. I have a project called Doodle Ducks. I wanted to go against the grain of everything that was happening in the space, all the FOMO traps, this perception of exclusive, a sold out, hurry up and buy type deal. So I was a moderator for VFriends for 6 months, and I've helped a lot of people set up MetaMasks and whatnot. So I kind of got addicted to that. And then, that's obviously the basis for my project. I figured it's the easiest way to connect the 2 points. Started off as a super collector, 14 VFriends I minted, about 10 left, 11 left, 2 apes. I got my first ape for like half an ETH. Still have I have 1 mutant. I didn't mutate the other one. So I've been in for a while. I have a big bag of good and bad. And so I just decided to really step away from all of the super cash in the space. And so you're probably like, oh yeah, I'm stepping away from the super cash, and you're doing a mint. Well, let me just tell you that I'm not making $1 off this mint. 90% of the mint will go to the community. I'm not sure on how I'm going to move and what I'll invest in to grow the fund. But I will throw IRL parties around that run concurrent to VCon and Ape Fest and ETH Denver and all of these things, so that people who don't have an Ape token or a VFriends token can go and be a part of something, be a part of a community without worrying about losing thousands of dollars overnight. So no paid marketing, no hype. It's a learning environment. I've already given away 70 whitelists to my Discord. The most recent being Sudan, love addicted girls. I got I think 5 whitelists from my Discord, raffled them off to holders. I'll be bringing somebody to VCon with me next year, just a random doodle duck holder, just going to raffle it off. When the Twitter gets like 10K, I'm going to give away a Hangout Hawk, not the token, but like a meeting So you'll get to have like a meeting with Gary if you win that. And so I'm just going to bring this a ton of value at every turn that I can. Some people, most of the people who are holders of my project are new to the space, which is what I want. And honestly, it's not going to work for anyone who isn't new anyway, because it's, as you build your collection, you kind of become more of a collector, and you're always focused on, what floors are moving. And it's really hard to work on a project and be like, in the space trading. Like, I've been working on this project so long that I missed, like, I get whitelists because I get whitelists for my, the Discord. So they give me one. Don't even mint them. Totally forgot. So I'm fumbling bags everywhere. And like I said, I'm fumbling 90% out of my pocket, to the community. So I'm not making anything. I'm looking to deliver as much value as possible. And I believe this will benefit me long term. Um, I got so the Jacked Apes Club recently was in the news for, they had some kind of scandal, and I actually got whitelists for my Discord from Claude, which is a friend of mine, Magic City Ape. And so as soon as I heard about this, I reached out to Claude, and he refunded everyone who got the whitelist and minted for my Discord. So this is a very, like, this Web3 it's a very wild west, unsafe place. But my Discord is probably one of the safest places in Web3. So if you're new, or you know new people, this is where they can get educated, and not have to worry about losing their wallet. That's it.
Good stuff, P. Or Post. Appreciate you coming on and sharing about it. We did have a chance to talk a little bit about your project on last week's space as well, and there was a lot of overlap this week because I was doing the Wall Street Bets giveaway, so I actually decided to save the Doodle Duck for this Thursday. And so I am looking forward to actually giving away and raffling off one of the Doodle Ducks that Post was just talking about. And so we will be putting that out. Within the project, it sounds like there are several kind of differentiating factors to it. Do you plan on ever kind of taking it further with like an ecosystem, like a metaverse or a gaming or a staking or anything like that, or it kind of is, what your vision is for it right now?
Yeah, so it's mostly, first of all, yes, I do plan to do that. I didn't start with those plans. It just kind of developed. There's going to be no utility token. I'm not looking for new money to enter the ecosystem. I'm looking to make plays with, so this is not a DAO. It's a fund. So I'm going to be able to, like, use this money to, mint things and buy apes and flip it and make 20-30% in, no time. But I'm not sure on what I'm going to do with that. It's so going back to the metaverse. It kind of just happened where we're playing Smash Cards. Like every night I play Smash Cards with my Discord, and for like an hour or two, and we were like, and I'm gonna get. I hope I don't get front run here, but I have sandbox land, and I was like, we should really make like a racing, like a racetrack. Make our own kind of Smash Cards, make it play to earn, like make a little liquidity pool, and pay people. Won't be much, but you pay them to play the game, incentivize them to stop by your sandbox plot. It's okay if you front run me on the idea, because them Doodle Ducks is going to be in style over my sandbox lot. But yeah, so things just kind of happen like that. They just evolve. So yeah, I'm going to do some metaverse work.
Okay, cool, man. I like it. Matthias, any questions?
Nope, no questions on my side. We actually gave away a Doodle Duck yesterday during the Super Bowl, and the users on our app were super excited about it. So very interesting project. Something I want to keep an eye on. I joined the Discord. It seems super exciting and energetic. So props to you, Legend, for everything you're building there.
Appreciate you.
One other question, and this is separate from the project, which I think is really good stuff, and everyone should be checking out. And that is, you mentioned the stuff that happened with Jacked Apes, and Jacked Apes. A lot of our friends were tweeting about this, right, and putting it out and wanting to get whitelist spots. I wanted to learn more about Jacked Apes, and I had reached out to them over DM, and they basically told me that they were too busy to talk. So Okay, I guess I got kind of saved right there because I was just trying to do some due diligence because everyone was pushing it. Um, or maybe they realized I was actually going to ask them like real questions besides how much are you paying me, and they didn't want to, take that chance. And so I'm curious, with stuff like that going on, and you reached out to Claude, how can people really take the next step to protect themselves in this space when even people that they trust are tweeting out about it and giving away waiver spots?
It's so hard to. It's so. I mean, it's people are people, and we're in a very trusting environment where we're all gonna make it and we're all friends. So oftentimes our guard, it's and not only is our guard, lowered by the loving culture, it's just hard to tell. Like, Squiggles had me fooled. Like, I know it was a derivative. I know it was a 3D rendering of do. I mean, I get it, but I only saw sneak peeks and it looked a little different and it had me fooled. Like, and so I feel bad for like Franklin, who ended up like um, you know, advertising for Squiggles. I actually got a whitelist for Squiggles and then gave it away to my Discord. And then, and then when the FUD paper came out, removed it. But it's just so hard to protect yourself from things like this because never really know who people are. But I guess the safest way is having like a Gnosis safe, where there's a multi-sig wallet, where everyone has to agree. That keeps people from, you know, monopolizing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Wolf. Just to add to that, yeah, when people say, and especially in the NFT space, do your own research or practice due diligence. I mean, Wolf, you and I have talked about it. Like, what does that even mean? And I think that, with some of the things that we've been working on that you'll present, that will help maybe establish more reasonable and consistent expectations. But currently, you go out and tell someone, do your own research, or, someone asks you to endorse them and it's a friend. I mean, we've seen it happen time and time again throughout the past 6 to 12 months that people that you thought you could trust decided to take the easy way out, the path of least resistance, and just burn the community with a cash grab or with something really low effort. And some of them weren't even apologetic about it. So it really does beg the question. And I think this was something, Wolf, that you and I have focused on as far as checks and balances and not centralizing the Web3 space, not even trying to like police it, but just trying to really establish some better practices and encouraging it through highlighting the positive experiences and those that are presenting the right energy and doing the right things for their communities and their followings. But it does beg the question on the flip side, how do we hold others accountable, and how do we prevent our followings from becoming victims to others' bad intentions in a decentralized environment like this?
Yeah, I was very lucky in that case because it's very hard to get a refund for someone in this space. And so I was very fortunate that the person who gave me the whitelist I've known, and I do know from Magic. We're in a little alpha group, and so um, it's I was very lucky to hand it back. And most of the people who were affected, they understand. They're like, thanks for the opportunity. We got wrecked, but you didn't set out to wreck us. Like, you gave us the opportunity, and this is just it just flopped. So
So it's interesting that you say that. To kind of echo that, people ask me, do you have contracts? And all the time in my DMs, I get like people asking about rates for retweets and for endorsing and, hosting a Twitter space and whitelists and whatever else. And most of the time I ignore it because I just don't trust it. And I'm a little jaded at this point, and I have to take a step back, reflect on that at times to not become too close-minded and to cut off opportunities that could have value, could be encouraging or promoting something that is a good experience or a good first impression for someone that's new to the community. But really, yeah, it's tough to find that model, and it's something I've been struggling with because one thing that I made a conscious effort to refuse to do from the beginning was accept any sort of payment for it, for promotion or an endorsement. No paid retweets, no paid giveaways. I never once did anything like that. And then even when I had my own community with camp and it became a little bit more complex, a little bit more layered as far as the approach, because now it's not a question of providing value back to myself, which is selfish. It's a question of providing value back to over 1,000 holders. And so again, I kind of was challenged to find the right approach, the right model where I'm being authentic and I'm not just shilling something because it's returning value back to either myself or the camp community, but something that is, more genuine, something that's a little bit more mutually beneficial as far as not taking any sort of compensation, but instead trying to go at it as developing a relationship, developing a partnership. And I'll be honest, it doesn't work all the time. There is no one right and one wrong answer. It's not that simple. But really trying to, like I said, identify that model where you can do both. You can monetize, you can have the ability to promote things that you do have conviction with without it being a conflict of interest or potentially something that could end up hurting yours or your following's just identity long term if the project doesn't follow through with the initial expectations. It's so complicated. It really is.
Really good stuff, guys. Love the back and forth. I think this is a conversation a lot of people are looking for more information in, and hopefully there becomes a standard. Maybe it's an auditing standard or some type of seal of approval that we can trust. I know that there's one that they just fucked up the other day. It was the what was it? What was that thing? You probably know what I'm talking about, Tyler. It was like centrist or something.
I don't
They
know
were
specifically. All I know is that it's definitely something that's being worked on by multiple groups, including my own.
right. There you go. So there's this firm, I forget the name. It was like centrist or something, and there was one of these ape clubs or something. It was not the grandpa one that's like legit, but like the one that's not legit. They went to this company and they got certified and signed off by, and then went and rugged their people. They paid $20,000 or like $15,000 to $20,000 for an audit, and then went and rugged people. It was pretty elaborate, and so yeah, I mean, it's just like still looking for that golden, stamp of approval that people are going to get. And I think whoever can kind of set that up, they're
Stop
going to get a
talking,
pretty
please.
banging.
No.
Yeah, am I just giving away the alpha? Okay, all right. I'll shut
Yeah,
up.
without like giving away any IP, this is how I summarized this to someone earlier today. I said I'm currently focused on standardization without centralization, influencer and marketing best practices, and doing my part to help establish checks and balances. Basically said I want to tame the Wild West, and I think that everything is a spectrum, and if we really believe that we're in the right environment and that this is going to be sustainable and flourish and that this is the next frontier, the future, whatever, we have to start looking at it more realistically and understand that we can't go from black to white overnight as far as the way that our systems and the foundations and the structure is put into place. There has to be some form of oversight or regulation. It's a necessary evil.
Perfect. Yep. Well said. Okay, one more time. If you are in the audience and you're interested in either of these, we have stock people up here, crypto people up here, NFT, and this is no chance by random people that are on this panel. They are incredible and have been huge assets to the community. And I highly recommend, we got Deck Investor up here for stocks, but he does so much more. Andy up here for crypto. Again, very multifaceted. And then NFTs Anonymous, Push and Post, Decentral, Lies It ETH, which is Anthony, our guy. A lot of people with just tons of knowledge of multiple areas and incredible follows. And then, of course, coasting with Asset Dash. We're going to talk a little bit more about Asset Dash towards the end of this as well. But again, it's this ideal target audience in here. You are the people that should be using Asset Dash. I'm using it daily. If you own stocks, crypto, and NFTs, or even two of the three, Asset Dash is the single app that tracks everything for you. Connect in all of your different brokerage accounts, wallets for free into one place and see it on a daily basis, tracking your assets. Money's important, and if you treat it as such, you're going to make more of it. So let's go from there. I want to give a chance to Anthony to share if you want to pitch a stock or crypto or an NFT. I know you're pretty well versed in all areas, but it's just been a while since we chatted. So excited to have you on.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I saw you guys chatting up a bunch of different assets I love, so I thought I'd hop on too. I mean, I talk stocks very often during the weeks and spaces and pods and stuff, so I figured I'd just start talking about an NFT project now. Definitely not something that's like newer. It's been around for, I mean, in the NFT space, newer, like a month and a half is like a decently old project now. But it's Coolman's Universe. It's my profile picture. And I think that like I wanted to talk about it just because of all the different rugs that have been happening with a bunch of people just cash grabbing for pretty low quality projects that are just way too high for mint price. Where there's already projects that have shown themselves and like have built a really good community and established themselves. And in my opinion, there's going to be another project probably in the next few months that goes and becomes the next Cool Cats, and then Cool Cats will go higher up and start, running towards where apes go. And I think that's kind of going to be the progression between these projects, right? Because there's only 10,000 of them. A lot of them started, in 2021. That's kind of going to be this year. I think, pretty distinguishable between different projects, just knowing when they started and how much community they already have built, just because it's seeming really, really cash grabbing and just filled with so many projects now that it's just getting super saturated. So I'm like more so focusing on the projects that have already kind of shown themselves regardless of floor price. And kind of going off the metrics of, it was mentioned earlier here, how important it is for, teams to be doxxed. Most of the time, like that is a really huge thing. And that's a big benefit for the project. So Coolman's is by Danny Casal, and he's a beast. He's got like over 10 million follows between all of, different YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. And he's just been making these species, which is what he calls them, and that's what the Coolman's Universe is, for quite some time now. And he started out making animated videos on YouTube, and these are like an extension of his art, which I think is very cool because obviously a huge brand already built from that, because he's got tens of millions of views and 10 million plus, like he's got like 2.5 million on YouTube, right? So he got famous for his art and his style, and I think it's really cool, just because there's less projects that do that than you think. And the ones that do, like if you think about Cool Cats, Klon was drawing those blue cats for years. And you think about like Doodles, Poopy was doing the same thing. So like the guys who are bigger and making these projects that have ran to 5 to 10 ETH, they have a couple of these different check boxes, which I think kind of separate them from the rest. Because I still think that people who are coming into the NFT space like to associate these art pieces with something that's in the real world. So like, even though like I think that anyone involved in the space kind of gets that there's no difference between the physical or the blockchain like version of it in terms of like how people value it, right? Like you can say that the Mona Lisa is worth whatever, but you can say the Coolman's worth whatever. But I think that that's just a huge thing to consider, because a lot of these projects will start being running into this like 5 to 10 to 15 ETH floor just because of having that like real world backing. And I think this connection to the physical world, because they're making books, they're doing merchandise, they're trying to make just a bunch of different branding things from it. And he's already done a really good job of doing it himself, which is the only reason I think the project's taken off. And then just like from a perspective on like listings and floor prices and stuff, it's like a 1.85 floor now, and it's kind of been holding similarly, I think, to how Doodles ran first time. Like they went around 2 and then they pulled back, and then they distributed out to like more unique owners. So it's got, I think, 5.6 thousand uniques, which is really good. Like you want to see a project that has not just a few whales holding the majority. You want to have it spread out between a bunch of people that are in the community, which just, makes that project stronger. But yeah, I mean, I think that knowing that these projects are getting super, super saturated in this market, it's like easier to make money figuring out which projects have already kind of stuck around past that mint hype that's saying, yo, let's buy this 0.5 ETH one. It's like, it's kind of egregious because, this is how I was doing Solana NFTs like back in August, and this is how it started. Like things were going for 3 SOL, 5 SOL, 6 SOL mint. And, those are the ones that crashed because those were all clearly cash grabs. And so you're seeing that again. And money always flows to the quality. So I think that, like a lower entry NFT that has a pretty good potential to be like a cool cat or a doodle would be a Coolman. And the rares for this have been sold like way higher than the floor, which is like a pretty good indicator. And another thing they were saying, I forget who it was on here, but it's definitely facts. If the floors don't look good, the floor is not going to get bought and move up. So like I think the floors on these, like, most people who are in the community objectively think that most of them are really sick. And rares go for 10 to 12, 15 ETH. There was like a highest last sale of 20 ETH the other day. So people are definitely picking out the ones that they want to hold for a long time. And that's like pretty bullish to see. So definitely just going to keep focusing on this real world connection artist thing, even though, right, it's like still the same as any other NFT project. I think it just gives it more credibility. So people are, easier to pick that one and say, well, that'll probably be good because it's, something that's real, quote unquote, knowing that a lot of like, I guess, normies come into NFT now these days.
Wow, the full pitch. I love it. So overall with the project that you were talking about there, the one that again is in your profile picture, the Coolman's Universe, is there overlap that you'll sometimes see between that project and others that makes you want to gravitate towards them as well?
Yeah, I think they're pretty involved with a lot of people who hold, I guess, some of these up and coming new projects that people are also saying are going to be those like 5 to 10 ETH projects like Alien Friends and Crypto Moris. So that's like kind of good to see because those run in tandem. I remember when, like all last year, different projects would run in tandem because it was just, they were made at that part of that cycle in the market. So it's kind of like standardized between them. I also know that like, there's a lot of people buying buying pieces of it pretty consistently, like within the last, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks, there's like 20 to 30 sales that are between 5, 10, 12 ETH, right? And like sometimes I'll just go and scan wallets and see like who's holding these things because you want to see something like that crossover, like you mentioned, like Apes holding it or Cool Cats holding it, other like projects that people are aware of and have been a part of, and they know that those are already great projects. And so it kind of like it's like picking and siding with the guys who have already done really well to choose again, and you get enough people collectively deciding it's right, this like self-fulfilling prophecy of value. And I'm definitely seeing that with like this project. I think Alien Friends, like I have a few of those as well, like, and I got really lucky with those and I bought them at like 0.06 and just held a few and flipped way too many too cheap. But that one got really, really hyped up kind of artificially. Gary V aped in and bought those. And, like someone on crypto Twitter who I have like a lot of respect for, D's, changed his profile picture. And that's like huge because, people always look towards those like really well-known influencers to change it. So I think that, knowing the difference between that like organic and slightly artificial pump is also pretty big for knowing which projects to get into because I mean, I'm still bullish on Alien Friends. I still have a few, but I think that just knowing the slow organic run of like a Coolman's project it's kind of what you want to see because it's just natural organic distribution and people are buying it because they specifically like that one. Like they'll pay over floor by 20 to 30 to 40% for something that's not even rare just because it looks cool to them. And that's usually a pretty good indicator of how much interest that project has.
Fantastic. Any of the speakers on the panel have anything that they want to comment on that? I'm not sure if I saw you on mute, P.
Yeah, I was actually waiting for a project. So like that's one thing that a lot of people who've been around and minted things that have gone, just exponentially through the roof. So a lot of people who like we always want to get in on the mint and get it for like 0.06, and then have that super return. But really, the safest way to play these projects is to wait for that initial dump, wait for the slope of enlightenment, and then jump on there, which is where I believe Coolman's project is sitting right now. I know I have a couple friends that are in common with Coolman bands, and I have a couple as well, and certainly bullish.
Sweet. Matthias, anything from you?
No, nothing from me on that.
Okay, really cool stuff. So if anybody hasn't had a chance to check out Anthony, who just spoke, he is the host of the Pounding the Table podcast. We are actually doing a collaboration space on Wednesday night. it was supposed to be leaning towards market analysis, but maybe we'll interject with some NFT talk and make everyone uncomfortable. It'll be a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. And then, of course, you're welcome to do more stuff, Anthony, whenever you would like. Glad to have you on. For this, I think that we've run through all the topics. We've been running for over an hour and a half. So I am ready to, because I have a 9 p.m., to move into a little bit of wrap up. I do see that we actually had a number of people that came on and requested tonight, which was cool to see that there was a lot of interest in this, and a lot of people do want us to do some type of pitch. Matthias, maybe in the future, maybe we do like. The thing is, I don't want it to be like, I want people to be pitching other stuff typically, unless like I really do believe in their project. Like I see the Doodle Ducks, I have a couple Doodle Ducks. Like that was okay for post to do something he was working on. But typically, I don't want people coming in and just kind of pushing the base of the project. So I want to keep it towards typically assets that are not theirs, unless that there's like a real verified asset of theirs. So with that in mind, maybe we will bring people up. I'm just going to kind of push it towards you have to pitch something that's not yours, make it a little more interesting. Matthias, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought this was really great. I thought everyone had something insightful to share. I like this idea of doing stocks, cryptos, and NFTs because I feel like there's a little bit for everyone. But I think most importantly, something that we're noticing and we've discussed privately, Wolf, is that everyone's starting to invest in different asset classes. And I think the actual investor that's interested in all three of these categories is pretty high, but generally the content around them starts to get separated, right? And I think one example is the initial Starbucks pitch we heard. I thought that was really interesting, and normally I wouldn't be positioned to be in a room where I would hear something about Starbucks because I'm normally in crypto and NFT rooms, but I am interested in stocks. So I think this concept of being able to combine all these different asset classes, people are going to hear different things that they normally wouldn't be exposed to. I think in general, to be a well-rounded investor, you want to be able to take in information from all of these different sources, especially too with even the equity world is starting to converge a bit with the crypto and NFT world, right? We're constantly seeing big publicly traded companies come out and announce their strategy to get into NFTs or metaverse related plays. We're seeing bigger entities, add crypto or Bitcoin in particular to their balance sheet. And I think we're going to continue to see this convergence. So I like the idea of using this medium as a way to cover all of these different asset classes and then giving people an opportunity to share some of their high conviction investments and why they're bullish on them.
Perfect. Well said. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to move to each of our speakers just to give them a couple minutes to wrap up. Before we do that, if you enjoyed this Twitter space, just know that I do about 20 Twitter spaces a week. I am hosting, this is 4 of 19 for this week. So we have 19 this week, and there are many more to come. We are going to have spaces on every major topic, again, crypto, NFTs, stocks. We did a mental health space today that was super interesting. Like people came at it from all different types of angles, kind of mental health in relation to finance, option trading, all that different type of stuff. If you click in my profile, you can see it in my pinned tweet. But the easier way to know when all of my spaces are going to be is to join my free public Google Calendar. This is a free tool that is the single greatest tool on Twitter for finding finance related Twitter spaces. Essentially, what I do is every week I spend a good amount of time planning out, again, dozens of spaces, and I upload all of them onto a public Google Calendar, complete with speakers that are going to be in each space, titles, times, and once the space is done, I take the recording, you can see this is being recorded, and I put it into the calendar. So now there are 3,500 people that are subbed to this calendar, and the easiest way to get on it, if you don't want to miss the next one of these NFT spaces, a pitch space, I do sometimes, again, we've talked about bringing people up from the crowd as well. All you have to do is DM me your Gmail, and I will add you right onto it, completely free, never a charge, and your information shared with nobody. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe for free, and it doesn't even send me a notice. So no harm, no foul. But if you want to get on, the best way to get on is to DM me a Gmail. If you don't have a Gmail, I can use others. It just works seamlessly with Gmail because it's Google. Again, all different types of people are using it. All different types of investors are using it. People who work at Twitter Spaces have even DM'd me and asked me added to it. So they're probably going to try to copy this, but it's not out yet. So get ahead, get smart, and plan out your life. Be an organized, know when you're going to be at things. Like it makes my life way easier. I don't know how to operate without it. And I've heard that from a lot of similar people as well. with that being said, let's go to each of the speakers for and then of course, make sure that you're following the Wolf account and you will see the spaces at the top of your timeline. Of course. All right, let's go to Colin first. Appreciate you hanging out the whole time, dude, and hanging with us. Hopefully some of this was, interesting to you as well, and you learned something, and would love to hear if you have any other closing remarks or anything that you want to put out there, or if you want to mention Sleep Money Club, all you.
Yeah, no problem, man. I really enjoyed listening to this, and I think I was listening. I was the first speaker, so I had like an hour of just kind of listening, and I was scrolling through my feed as I was listening, and actually, Anthony followed me, and I had never seen his page before, so I went back and I looked at his page, and I think Matthias said this at the end as well, and I think this is really important and why I like this space and why I was interested in listening, because I started out on the stock space, and I, investing in stocks when I was 17 until now, right? Until before I turned 22, right? Now I'm 23, and I started jumping into, researching and understanding crypto. And Anthony has a pinned tweet. So if you're not following Anthony, you go at least go click on his profile, because he has his pinned tweet says he's not a stock guy, he's not a crypto guy, he's not a bonds guy, he's not an NFT guy, all these things. He's not this, not this, not this. He says, I just dive face first into paradigm shifts and trends I know are exploding, then learn as I go. And so I think it's really important to, and like Matthias said at the end, right, you don't have to just be one person. You don't have to just be in one asset class. You can. There's nothing wrong with that. But also don't be afraid to go out there and learn new things and, learn the new space. And I just I dove headfirst into NFT space last week, and started, really understanding that space. And so, I talked about stocks here, but I think the biggest takeaway that I got as the listener was, don't be afraid. There's money to be made out there. There's asset classes to invest in out there. That's probably different than what you're doing. And it's scary at first to learn new things. It's scary to go and research an NFT project, to try to get on the, try to mint a project, to research this crypto, to do this, to set up this crypto node, to buy this stock, to research. It's going to be all scary at first, but don't, pigeonhole yourself into one asset class, because there's so many out there, and, everyone can succeed in all different types of asset classes. So that would be my biggest takeaway, and my last little piece. So that's basically it. My name's Colin. My page is Decade Investor. I got the laser eyes. That was my brother's wedding there. My profile picture, but not just talk about stocks, crypto. Now I said like a little bit of NFTs, but nothing like the other NFT speakers here specifically. But I'm new to the space and really interested in learning a lot about NFTs. But like I said, just don't let your education end when you graduate high school, college, trade school, whatever it is. Like, always continue to learn, because there's always stuff out there to be learning. And so just want to say hi to Greg, and that is it. Thank you.
Good way to end it. Definitely always say hi to Greg. Big shout out to Greg whenever he's in the space. Okay, let's go over to yourself, Andy.
Oh yeah, everything Colin just said was fantastic. I don't know how to follow that for a closing statement. But I will say one of the things that has served me well over the years, and one of the things I will kind of echo that Colin said, is staying curious. I have just seen so many people who they just get into a rut or a routine in life. They do the work, come home, watch shows, go to sleep, rinse, repeat, and there's no other excitement or curiosity. And there's so much amazing stuff happening, whether it's in the world of wealth building and stocks and things like that, or if it's in crypto with NFTs or something that I have no idea about. I just bought my first one yesterday, the day before. I'm just dipping my toes into the space. But there's so many wonderful, exciting things happening right now. So much opportunity, and many of them, I believe, are once in a lifetime opportunities. And everything that is incredibly hard to use now, it's hard to figure these, DeFi apps out. Hard to figure out what are good projects to get into. All this stuff that's tough to do now, one day it will be mass adopted and will be easy, and much of the upside that we have in front of us right now will be gone. Sure, there's a lot of ways to lose money in the process, but there's a million ways to make kind of life-changing money and build wealth over the long haul. And if you're not curious, you're not like learning about this stuff, you're not excited about figuring various things out in life and when it comes to all this stuff, then I think you're missing something big. And I would encourage you that if you listen to stuff like this, you listen to us talking up here about these various things, and it just sparks a little something in you, and it maybe is interesting, or you want to learn more, to just chase that. Like, go after it. You might be very surprised where you end up a year from now. I know I have. All crypto has changed my life. Being on YouTube, being on Twitter has changed my life, and these are all things that were just dreams in the back of my head just a few short years ago. It's incredible what can happen in a short amount of time. So go out there and chase those things. Thank you very much, Gav, for having me on here, and always a pleasure.
Pleasure having you on, Andy. All right, Tyler.
I don't really have anything to wrap up with. I mean, I kind of said it all before. I think that we're seeing a little bit of a shift, maybe the end of a cycle, as far as this low barrier to entry, no accountability, no consequences. And I think that the community is starting to wise up to it, starting to realize that there is a lot more potential in the space, but we're not realizing it to its full potential, right? That we're not focusing on the right things. Our energy is not directed where it needs to be in order to scale this appropriately and effectively. So yeah, I would just encourage people to really think about what you're minting, who you're supporting, and you know, provide. You're really enabling to have a larger voice. And don't be afraid to pull back some layers, read between the lines, quote unquote. That's where you should be doing your own research, is on people, not on projects, because you can't determine what a project's going to be 6 months or a year from now based off what's presented today. You can make an educated guess, but it's not the end all be all. People have track records, people have a following, people are a lot easier to read as far as their energy and what they're presenting and what they represent. And I would encourage people to start supporting projects because of the people that are behind them, as opposed to uh, the short term gain incentive, or because of the hype and the FOMO that really is simulated at the end of the day. So yeah, that would be my little piece of advice. Appreciate everyone listening and hearing me drone on about kind of some of the cynicism of the space. But in all seriousness, I really do have a positive outlook. I do think that we're all here for a reason. We all have purpose and value. And find something that you're passionate about, because this is that once in a lifetime opportunity we've all been waiting for, to apply ourselves and have our efforts and the work that we put in be equally rewarded, on the other side. So that's all I got.
Well said. Thank you,
Thank
sir. Yeah, definitely dig in, and without a little bit of skin in the game, it's going to be much harder too. All right, we shouted out Greg, but I also want to give a shout out to Matt Esparza with the Kangaroos after his name for hanging out with us in the space. Those are my guys. I may not have a Valentine's this year, but at least I have Greg and Matt, so life is good. All right, with that being said, let's go over to yourself, Post.
Just want to take this opportunity to say, follow Greg, because I've been waiting. Okay. Also, I don't have much. I'm in my Discord, widely available. If any of you have any questions or want some kind of perspective, my Discord's in my bio along with everything else. Come chill. We'll play Smash Cards in about 10 minutes as soon as the space ends.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me. Okay, and Matthias, anything else you want to put out there?
No, just really enjoyed this. Definitely excited to keep this going. I will also be at ETH Denver, so if anybody here is going to be at ETH Denver, would love to meet up in person. So just follow and ping me over DM. Should be a great time, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, just final comments on the app. It's pinned to the top. AcidX lets you track all of your investments in one place in real time: stocks, cryptos, and NFTs. So far, people have really been liking it. It was voted #1 product on Product Hunt. So give it a look. If you have any feature suggestions or anything you'd like to see in the app, again, shoot over a DM, and we'd love to hear from you.
Love it. Well said. That is pinned up top. Real quick, we are going to do the giveaway, so hang out for just a minute. I'm just going to use Tweet Picker for this. So we're doing a giveaway now. Obviously, it's like hard to check because there's a contingency that you do have to have an Asset Dash account. So that's kind of part of it. But hopefully, whoever we pick here, we'll kind of double check, and we'll go ahead and we'll DM them and everything. And if they do have an Asset Dash account, then we'll give it to them. And if not, then we'll run back another pick afterwards. But let me just go ahead and grab into Tweet. If anyone hasn't done this yet, Tweet Picker is awesome. I love this thing. Makes it much easier than me just having to like close my eyes and scroll up and down. Just throwing on, basic must-haves, make sure they're not like bot accounts or anything like that. And okay, I just hit continue, and it's gonna do the drawing, and I just began the drawing. So we are gonna get a winner, and we do have a winner. Cool. Our winner is Salman, SALMEN _S_. And their bio says, just sipping my coffee and doing stuff. If you're in here, feel free to request. If not, don't worry, I will reach out. Hopefully they did actually make a account and everything, but they seem to be meeting all of our stuff. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna do another giveaway as well on our Thursday evening space. If you enjoyed this, follow our speakers, and that will give me all the inclination I need to run this back again next week. And we'll have on more speakers and people that are pitching and stuff. And then if you like spaces, we have a full day tomorrow. We are going to have 12 p.m. EST, a technical analysis and charting space with Trend Spider. We're going to have a 3 p.m. EST AMA with the Tree Friends NFT, who is minting tomorrow. And if anybody saw, that's actually, I might change my profile pic tomorrow. For the first time in a while. We're on a mission to plant a lot of trees with that NFT project. So that is a cool community, but also along the charity lines. And we are going to plant hopefully hundreds of thousands of trees. And then at 5:30, I'm going to do a real estate space. And then at 8 p.m., I'll have a market sentiment and technical analysis space. So a lot going on tomorrow. Keep your eye out for all of it. I will be putting out reminders and everything, so you can just check those out. And I think, yes, I will be the main host on all 4 of my spaces tomorrow. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great, nice rest of your night. And for the speakers, there's about a 15-second delay. So I usually just say some blabber right here for a few seconds and kind of let the space wind down, and then I'll close it out in about 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody, have a good one.